Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wind Down Wednesday, episode 23. I had a hard time with tonight's topic because I was so excited about next week that I really wanted to just jump to next week because I already have this really cool thing in mind. And of course, I always say I go with my intuitive flow, so something may change, but my idea for next week is to do a little bit of a holiday special and we're going to talk about grace and meditate on grace. And I was inspired to possibly share a little bit of a song with you. So tonight we're going to talk about safety. And I had a kind of an interesting thing happen to me today, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to talk about this tonight when I talk about safety. This story from today is it's kind of about intuition, and it's also about safety, and the more in touch we are with our intuition and the more we trust our intuition, the more we can trust that we're staying safe in situations. And I did not trust my intuition today, but luckily no one was hurt. Everyone is fine. Before I start this story, I don't want anyone to think that any animals got hurt. But my husband and I we have a little rescue poodle, and we've been working to socialize him. He's reactive on the leash, and so we've been trying some different things. And one of the things he read was that going to an off-leash dog park is a good way to socialize your dog while they're off the leash. And so there's a dog park near our house, and we decided to go today. The last time we went, we have a 14-year-old Schnauzer who is my baby. His name is Emmett. And usually I take him separate and walk him around. I don't like to take him to dog parks. Sometimes he has this posture that's a little dominant, and it doesn't always get interpreted the right way. He's a friendly dog and he likes to play, but depending on the other dog, you never know what's going to be in the situation. So as we pulled in, I saw a lady with two dogs that were almost exactly the same size as our dogs go into the dog park. And I thought, oh, that's cool. That seems like a good match. And as soon as we got out of the car, I heard this high-pitched barking that instantly I was like, that is the dog we're going in to see, and this is not a safe situation. Like, my intuition instantly told me. And so I started telling my husband, I don't think this is a safe situation. I don't know if I use the word safe, but I don't think this is a good situation, is what I was saying to him. And he was just walking along and probably like, oh, neurotic Paula, which I am. So I don't blame him for that. But I should have trusted my intuition because it was very strongly telling me this is not a good situation. So we went into the dog park. And my poodle was just kind of wandering around, and my Schnauzer kept going up to these other two dogs, and they clearly didn't really want to interact. And these alarm bells were going off in my mind. This is not a safe situation. This is not a safe situation. To the point that I actually went to my Schnauzer and clipped the leash back on him and started walking out the dog park. And I said to my husband, I'm just going to take him for a walk. That way I can get exercise. I don't have to worry about it. And, he's, of course, not feeling these intuitive things that I'm feeling and kind of, oh, you're overreacting, everything's fine. And as I was walking to the exit, the lady with the other dogs was like, oh, don't worry, my dog's friendly. Don't leave because of us. And so, again, I didn't listen to my intuition because I didn't want to be rude. And so I kind of started talking to her, socially distanced with masks on, and I let my dog back off the leash. And I let my dog get too far away from me because I tend to stay pretty close when they're in a situation like that because dogs are unpredictable, and even the best behaved dogs in a situation can get out of control. So I looked down, and the dog that was about the same size as my dog had been chasing a ball. My dog came up to him, and then there was a fight, and the dog attacked my dog and was lunging at his throat. And I mean, it was very scary in the moment. And again, everyone's fine. But I started running, and I'm screaming his name, and, I pulled him away, and I carried him out of the dog park, and I'm, looking to see if he's got any broken skin. He's got a bad back. So I was really worried. And he, as far as we can tell, he's fine. He's not limping or anything. He didn't have any broken skin. He was dirty. We had to take him home and give him a nice bath and a little bit of a talking to, because he did exactly what he does, this posturing and, oh, that's my ball. He kind of walked up to the other dog, and the other dog was just healthy dogs in a good situation that are comfortable. Like I used to have a beagle, and he would just go, meh, and it was like a no, and dogs would understand. But this dog, and the woman had told me this is a rescue dog. I've only had him for about a year. I'm trying to get him more socialized, and which is kind of what we were there for our poodle. But he was just not, probably shouldn't have been in an off-leash dog park, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that I went into an unsafe situation knowing it was unsafe because I didn't listen to my intuition. So when I talk about intuition and getting into flow, it's so important. And this has happened to me. There's like these concrete examples throughout the last year or so. I got food poisoning when I was in Mexico on vacation at the end of 2019. And as I reached to pick something from it was a buffet with the tongs, my brain went, don't eat that. And I was like, oh, brain, no, it wasn't actually my brain. It was my intuition. And then I got food poisoning. So when you get these intuitive hits, recognize them. And as we recognize them, now I know, I was getting a very strong message, and I've gotten a lot better at listening to my intuition and trusting my intuition. But it's also in the situation, like my husband wasn't trusting my intuition because he wasn't feeling it. And because I haven't trusted myself in the past. If I had said, absolutely not, I'm not going in there, it's not like he would have just been like, okay, you're a weirdo, but whatever. So anyway, that's my story about safety, which I thought was funny because I just came up with this topic yesterday as I was meditating. And then this happened to me and I was like, oh, we're talking about safety tonight. So what we're actually going to focus on, though, that was kind of a story about physical safety. What we're going to talk about tonight is emotional safety, because emotional safety absolutely affects our physical, our energetic body. And the reason this came up for me, I've mentioned a couple times I've been doing this toning work, this chakra toning work. I've been really opening my lower chakras, and the root chakra, the base of your spine, that's the chakra that has to do with safety. And I'm going to briefly interject and mention that I'm actually going to I've had a lot of questions about the chakras. I have a few people that have been sort of wanting me to talk more about them. And I think that this is not the right forum for that. We need to have an interactive thing. I want to do more meditation and sound. I'm going to offer an 8-week course called Introduction to the Chakras. And we're going to take 1 week to go through each of the 7 chakras. And then the last week, I think, will be kind of an integrative sort of covering anything we missed or any questions. And we're going to do some cool interactive. It'll be a Zoom class. So this way, instead of just me talking like I do here on Wind Down Wednesday, we'll have the opportunity to interact, and we'll do meditations, and we'll do some toning and some sound and music healing, because music and sound is really powerful to move energy in the chakras. And that's what this toning exercise that I've been doing for probably 2.5, 3 months now has really been moving some of this stagnant energy in my lower chakras. So I'm not going to go into much detail because again, that we're going to have a whole class on that, and there's a reason why. But the root chakra, which is at the base of your spine, it's the lowest of the chakras, and it has to do with safety. It's your connection to the earth. When we talk about grounding, that has to do with the root chakra. And it's also the feeling that we belong, that we are enough, and that we have enough. And from my years of working with people as a body worker, as a massage therapist, most of us are not occupying the lower half of our body almost at all. We're kind of mostly up in here thinking and bouncing around up in here. And maybe we're kind of into our heart a little bit, but these first 3 chakras tend to be stagnant, have holding, and or totally blocked sometimes. Sometimes I've heard the phrase, walking heads, that we're just a bunch of walking heads because we're not really in our bodies. We're not really accessing our bodies. The toning work that I've been doing has been clearing a lot of gunk out of my lower chakras, which are all about the physical body. And of course, as I say every week, probably, the physical affects the energetic and emotional, and vice versa. So if we have energetic and emotional holding, that affects the physical body. And if we're not in the physical body, then we don't have the awareness to change that, to move that energy around. So feeling unsafe, that's what we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about being unsafe. We're talking about feeling unsafe. And there is a difference. So I feel unsafe a lot of times in certain situations when the objective reality is that I am not physically in danger, but emotionally, as an empath, I've spent my entire life sort of just being bombarded with other people's emotions. So I've developed a pattern of feeling unsafe. And what happens when you're unsafe, it's kind of like there's a vicious cycle that goes on. So when you're fearful, when we feel unsafe in a situation, our physical reaction is to pull up the pelvic floor, to kind of tense your butt cheeks together and tense everything in your lower body. And then what that does is that causes stagnation, because when you're tense, energy can't move. And again, that's a chicken and an egg thing. You've got energetic stagnation, and then that leads to physical tension, which we just talked about a couple weeks ago. And then vice versa, the physical tension makes the energetic stagnation worse. So we pull up on the pelvic floor, and then we have stagnation. And then because eventually that stagnation becomes like a permanent situation for us, then we don't ever feel safe, because we're not ever really getting down into that lower body and grounding ourselves and allowing our energy to really connect to the earth and to really open those lower centers, which is where we, like, as I'm talking, they're like, which is where this feeling of safety comes from. So I had this experience the other day. I wasn't feeling very good. Like, everything was kind of hurting. I was feeling achy. All my joints were feeling bad. And that's always a sign to me that I need to do some renewal work. I need to do my renewal ritual and take some time and really do either stretching or something to move energy out of the body, yoga, some sort of exercise, and then some focused meditation and energy work to figure out what the issue is. And as I started to relax into this meditation, I could feel all of this stagnation, all of this tenseness in my lower body that suddenly just started to let go. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, no wonder I never feel safe anywhere, because I'm not really in this part of my body yet. I wrote an entire chapter in my book, Spiritual Integration, about inhabiting the lower body. And like everything else, this is a process. So I was not able to I was not inhabiting my lower body to the full extent. And I think we can always grow. So as I wrote that book and as I went through this spiritual integration process for myself and with some of my clients, I had a big opening and kind of came more into the lower body. But what I've noticed is in any situation where I feel unsafe, I lose that. And that's very common. So when I'm here in my house, or my husband's working weekends now, when he's gone, I am like in my element. I'm fine. I'm feeling good. And then he comes back and he works at a hospital, which is a really terrible place to work right now, especially. There's a lot of really intense energy going on. So he comes back with all this energy attached to him. And then suddenly I find myself pulling up again. I don't feel as safe. Or when I went into the dog park and I didn't feel as safe, I started to pull up again. And so it's just a process of retraining. It's a process of awareness, recognizing that this is an issue that I would guess probably 90+% of people have. And then a process of retraining our mind, of moving the energy, because when the energy's stagnant there, trying to get the physical body to respond when the energy's still tight, it doesn't happen. It's like trying, in a massage, we talk about fascia, which is the kind of the little bag that wraps around your muscles. It's a bag of connective tissue. So if you have a tight muscle, I can't get your muscle to relax if the fascia around it is tight. If the bag around your muscle is tight, the muscle has nowhere to go. So we have to release the fascia so that the muscle can relax. And that's kind of similar to this. It's a good metaphor for what we're talking about here, because if the energy is stagnant, the energy is what's holding the physical body. So if we can't release the energy, the body can't relax. It has nowhere to go. When we release the energy, then the body can really finally relax. We have the opportunity to get into that lower body. And it's interesting. I say also in my book, I never liked having a body. I think I've said that on this before. It's definitely my work in progress, is this physical stuff, being in a physical body, dealing with physical issues. The spiritual I got going on, the emotional I'm pretty good at, but the physical is still a work in progress. And I feel like I just made a kind of giant leap forward, and I had this realization about safety, and I really wanted to share it because I thought I'd never thought about it in that way before. I've never really thought about how much your emotional safety affects your physical body. And of course, energy is affected by everything. So people who have had trauma in their past, and face it, we've all had trauma of varying degrees. And the other thing to remember is that this is a very personal experience. So what is traumatic for one person may be like, for another person. And that doesn't matter. What matters is how the experience was for you. And that's when I said feeling unsafe is what's important. Whether you're objectively safe, I mean, you want to be physically safe at all times, of course, but you can feel unsafe in a situation that is objectively safe. Like what happened to me today, I felt well, I guess that was an unsafe situation, but I was going to say I felt unsafe and my husband judged it to be safe. And so my body reacted as though it was unsafe. So I've mentioned before, I have a hard time with crowds. So if I go to a concert, I love music. Obviously, I've been talking about that. I'm releasing a song this week. And so I love to listen to live music, but I have a really hard time with the crowd aspect of all of that emotion and all of that energy that's bouncing around. And so that's an unsafe situation for me. And I'm interested, if I ever get to go to another one again, I'll be interested to see, how this work of retraining my body to not pull up, to not, and to really let myself stay grounded. One of the affirmations I've been working with, and maybe it'll come up tonight, is that I stay rooted in my physical body no matter what the external circumstances are. And so we're going to do a meditation tonight on safety. I have one more thing to say. I brought up trauma briefly. One of the methods to release trauma is to come back into the physical body so that we can move that energy in the lower centers. And while I was writing this, while I was thinking about this, there were a couple things that came to my mind from my background in psychology as examples. So one of the ways they work with people who have eating disorders is using actually body work and massage, because it helps bring people back into their body, and that helps them with their relationship with their body. But it also helps release the trauma that probably caused the eating disorder in the first place, or traumas, because I think for a lot of us, life is sort of a series of larger and smaller traumas, and when we don't know how to release that and let that go as it happens, then we're just collecting all these traumas over however many years we've been alive. And the other thing I thought of is one of the things when someone's having a panic attack, one of the techniques that they give people to do is to start naming things in their physical environment. So I might look around here and say bookcase, mirror, poster. You just start naming things in your physical environment, and it brings you back into the body. It brings you back into the moment. And that way you can start to get into the body and release the trauma and release whatever it is that triggered the panic attack, so that you don't keep, because that I've talked before about anxiety is kind of vibrating out of the body. When we can come back and ground and get down into the body, then we can release that panic and that anxiety. So let us get into our meditation for tonight. As usual, we've done a few meditations before where I've talked about trauma, and I always encourage you to reach out for help if you feel like you need it. I'm available for coaching. If you came to me for coaching and I thought that you needed a mental health professional, I would of course refer you, but you may need therapy when it comes to something like a trauma. So if something comes up tonight and you start feeling like you need help, reach out for help. If you start getting emotional, as always, try to let that emotion just flow through you. Try to breathe through it. I think it was last week's Wind Down Wednesday, I got pretty emotional during the meditation. And I had that first thought like, oh no, this is embarrassing. And then right after that, the intuitive guide came in and said, this is perfect because you're doing what you keep telling people to do. You've got tears running down your face and you're just breathing through it and letting it happen and not holding on to it. And that's why I always talk about letting emotion flow through. for most of us, like I'm doing work to resolve things that happened to me, years ago. And then we're always going to have, I think, some of that. But as you get better at this, as you progress in your personal as you progress in your own process is what I was trying to say, then you will find that you're able to let things go more quickly, and sometimes even right in the moment. Like that thing that happened this morning, I got all my adrenaline pumping and I came home and I was like, oh, this is terrible. And so then I had to do a little bit of, I do this sometimes, even on this show, just to kind of get some of that out of me, so that in 10 years, I'm not like, oh, that one time at the dog park was so traumatic and I'm still holding that in my pelvis. Because right now I want to be releasing things out of my pelvis and letting everything go for the highest good, so that I can be fully present to do the work that I'm here to do. And that's what I am always aiming to help you do as well. As always, I encourage you to sit up if possible. And you'll notice me kind of getting comfortable or moving around. I'm just discharging a little bit of energy before I start meditating. And that's a good habit to get into if it calls to you. It's hard to sit still when there's a lot of energy still kind of bouncing around in the body. So getting that out before you come into meditation allows you to have more success in the meditation. So let's start as we usually do with 3 deep breaths in through the nose and let them out with a nice ha sound. And do that 2 more times. And as you finish your 3rd breath, gently allow the top of your head, just above the top of your head, that crown chakra, imagine it gently opening. And with intention, invite in that divine energy of unconditional love that we call in every time we meditate. Let that golden light flow in through the top of your head, into your face and scalp, your jaw, your neck and throat. Allow this beautiful energy to continue to flow into the shoulders and down your arms, through the upper arms and elbows, and into your forearms, wrists, and hands. Let this beautiful, warm, glowing light flow into your chest and upper back. Let it come into your abdomen and your mid-back. And pause here for just a moment at the abdomen and really check, are you aware of your abdomen? Are you aware that this part of your body even exists? What does it feel like today? Take an extra breath or 2 and draw this golden light in through the top of your head and send it to the belly. And then as you breathe out, let it flow down and into the earth, with the intention that anything we release tonight will be recycled for the highest good. And then allow this energy, allow your awareness to flow into the low belly and the low back. And again, pause here tonight and take a deep breath. Let that light come in through the top of your head, all the way down to that low belly, that low back. And then as you blow it out, send it down into the earth with the intention of letting go of anything that is no longer needed in your body. And continuing to allow that light, that golden unconditional love, and your own awareness to flow down into the hips and the pelvis. And here we're going to stop and take 2 to 3 of the same kind of breath. So breathing in through the top of the head, letting that light, that energy come all the way down the torso, into the hips and the pelvis. And then grounding that energy down into the earth. Do that 1 or 2 more times, and then notice if your awareness is really in this part of your body. Are you still in your mind? Are you still trapped in your head? And if you are, that's okay. Just take notice of that and set the intention to bring your awareness down into the pelvis and into the hips. And then as you're ready, continue to allow that golden light, that warm, glowing energy to flow down into your thighs. Really feel, you can even bring your hands to your thighs and run your hands down your thighs. Bring your awareness to this part of the body that we so often forget about. And as you approach the knees, let's do 2 to 3 more breaths here. Breathing in, letting that light come all the way down through the head and the torso and the pelvis and the thighs. Breathing all the way into the knees. And then grounding that energy down into the earth. And allowing this beautiful energy and your awareness to flow into the lower legs. Now the shins, the calves, the ankles, all the way to the feet. And here, notice what your feet feel like. Notice how they feel against the floor. Really let yourself be in your feet for a moment. Or set the intention to be in your feet if you can't quite get there. And one last time, let's take a giant breath in through the top of the head, drawing it all the way down through the body, into the feet, and then sighing that down into the earth. So we're going to hold 2 seemingly contradictory ideas in our head for this meditation. We're going to stay fully in our body, connected to our body, and we're also going to visit our energetic sanctuary. And as I've said in the past, that sanctuary really is within our energetic field. So we're not leaving our field, although sometimes we visualize it that way to make it easier to introduce the concept. And if you're new to the energetic sanctuary, just listen to my voice. Don't worry about what the words mean. But stay here in your body tonight. Let your energetic sanctuary come to you. And if you've already been there, instead of imagining yourself traveling to a different planet, just pull that planet right down and into the room you're sitting in, so that you're sitting in your energetic sanctuary without leaving your space. If you're new to the energetic sanctuary, then just imagine that instead of sitting in the room or the space that you're in right now, you're not leaving this space, but the space around you is transforming to the most beautiful, the safest place you can possibly imagine. And let your intuition guide you as to what you see here. And if you're not a visual person, just use intention or use words, descriptive words, and let yourself describe what you're seeing in this sanctuary, in this safe space. And if you're used to being on your planet, in your energetic sanctuary, check in for a moment and see if the sanctuary, the area where you usually start, if that's the correct area for this meditation. We're looking for the absolute safest space in your own sanctuary. Safety within safety. And let your intuition, let your mind guide you to where that is. Perhaps it's at the waterfall of joy. Perhaps it's an area of your sanctuary you have not visited before. Perhaps it's that same comfortable place that you usually start, that is your anchor when we go to the energetic sanctuary. Just let that come into your mind. And again, staying in the room, staying in your body, staying aware of the physical. Let yourself settle into this safe space. Look around, notice what it looks like. Notice how it feels. If there's knots, if you're feeling tightness in your chest, gently set the intention to allow that to loosen. And be gentle with yourself. If it's not happening today, that's okay. But set the intention that in this safest of safe havens, you can let go of anything that you no longer want to carry around with you. And we're going to scan through the body again here. But just settle into this space fully first. Really let yourself feel what a safe space this is. Even if traumatic memories come up here, they can't hurt you because this is a space of safety. You can imagine that you're looking at these traumatic memories just like you were holding a snow globe. You're looking at a tiny scene that's outside of yourself. And if you're ready to let go of any of these memories, of any of these events, you can throw your snow globe completely out of your sanctuary. You might even listen to it smash and get a little bit of a feeling of satisfaction. So as we scan back through the body, I'm not going to guide you this time. Just let your intuition call you to the area or areas of tension, of holding that you're going to release tonight. And try to focus on the lower portion of the body. So from the rib cage down. Even if something higher up is calling you initially, I know normally I say go with your first instinct, but for this safety, for this meditation about safety and getting fully into these lower centers of the body, look in your belly. Look in your pelvis. There are absolutely traumatic events or memories, feelings of not being safe here that are ready to be released tonight. And this doesn't have to be the biggest trauma of your life. This could be a run-in at the dog park that happened earlier that you don't want to carry with you into tomorrow. As always, you can come back to this meditation and you can work up to larger traumatic events, starting with things that seem manageable. And let your intuition guide you, but also trust yourself to know when you're ready for release. So exploring here in the belly, sometimes I call it the cave. What does the inside of your belly cave look like? You're still within your sanctuary, so if this is a scary looking place, again, hold it in your hand like a snow globe and look at it like a scene. You don't have to go in it to see what's there. If you feel like going into this cave of your belly, of your pelvis, of your hips, then travel in there while staying in your body and staying in your sanctuary. If you feel more comfortable, just take a peek into the snow globe or pull back some curtains and look in. And perhaps that's as far as you'd like to go tonight, and that's fine. Awareness is always the first step here. So just noticing what is there, that there are traumas there, that there are fears there, that's your first step. If you're seeing anything that's ready to be let go of, that you can remove from your energetic body, from your physical body, that you can send into the earth or into the galaxy for recycling, then take that out of your cave now. You can use the snow globe image, you can use any other image that comes to you. You can just use the intention of removing, and it may not be a specific event or a specific memory. It may just be like a feeling of that you're, I don't want this anymore, and I'm going to get rid of it. When we're doing energetic work, sometimes we don't have to re-confront what caused that stagnation. We can just pull the stagnation out and get rid of it. So whatever approach is working for you tonight, and to whatever extent you want to do this work tonight, perhaps you're just listening and you'll do this in the future. Perhaps you're just sitting in your sanctuary and enjoying the feeling of safety. Do this to whatever extent feels comfortable to you. Sometimes when I'm doing energy work with a client and I'm pulling something, I picture like a magician pulling scarves, and the scarves just keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming. So if you're ready to really let go, don't judge yourself here. That's not a judgment. There's no levels here. Just pull out as many scarves as you're ready to pull out, or don't pull any. Anything you do here, any decision you make is the right one. Don't pressure yourself. Don't add more fear to your fear by thinking that you're doing something wrong. Anything you do here is the right decision, and maybe tomorrow it will be a different decision. So once you've got all this, you've gathered all this gook, whatever it is, you've got your snow globes, you've got your handful of magic scars, whatever it is that you're using, whether it's just the intention that you're taking fear and removing it from this belly, this pelvis region, what do you do with it? What do we do next? And we've already practiced grounding it. So you could actually use this fear as compost. You could be standing in the garden that we planted in a prior meditation, and you could be using these fears as manure, as compost, because as you place with intention this manure, as you release these fears into the earth, then that transforms into beautiful growth. So that's one visual you can use, is grounding this down, kind of spreading this with the intention that it creates space and beauty and joy. And the other image that's coming to my mind is that you can just punt this stuff out of your field like a football. You can just hold your snow globes, or if it's your scarves, you can ball them up and like you're Superman, and you can just throw into a completely different galaxy with the intention, as always, that this will be recycled to be used for the highest good. We're not dumping our fear on someone else or something else. We're releasing the energy that we held as fear to be used in a different way somewhere else in the universe. This energy can be useful to someone. So whatever image works for you, or again, just use the intention of release. Ground it down, make yourself a garden, get a little rage room angry and kick it out of your field, out of your sanctuary, kick it into the next multiverse over, whatever kind of image you want to use here, start to let go of this fear to the extent that you can today, knowing that what you're doing today is perfect. And then come back to your belly. And notice how it feels. Does it feel different physically? Does the energy inside feel different? Has your emotional state shifted? Perhaps now it feels all stirred up and you feel a little bit uneasy, and that's okay. Breathe through that and remember that you are in the safest haven. You are in the sanctuary of your sanctuary. And allow that energy to settle back down. We built this stagnation, this holding up, over many years, so we don't release it in one short meditation. But we start the process, we set the intention, and we continue to do this. We continue to participate in this process. And each time we can release more, and we release more quickly, and we create space to be filled with love instead of fear. We choose fear. We choose love over fear. We choose to let fear go. So I am being guided to not bring affirmations in tonight, but to allow you to bring your own affirmations in. And they could be as simple as, I release my fear, or I am safe, or I allow myself to feel safe. Whatever comes to your mind here about safety, about releasing fear, is the right vibration for your own field. And if possible, as always, state these affirmations out loud if you can, and state them often. And when we state them in this neutral, grounded state, the vibration continues to work on that stagnation and allow it to continue to release. So stay here for a last few moments, letting your affirmations come through, or just enjoying your sanctuary if nothing's coming to you tonight. And I'm going to seal this session as I did last week with a little bit of toning. And the vibration of this toning will be intended to continue this settling into the low body, this releasing of stagnation, and coming fully present into the body. Enjoy your last few moments of silence here, but carry this safety, carry this sanctuary with you into the rest of your night and your week and your year. Let this sanctuary stay in your field for as long as it is meant to. And once again, checking in specifically with the low body. Bringing your awareness to the belly, just below the rib cage. From here, if you'd like, you can allow that crown to gently close or allow it to stay open for your highest good. But keeping your energy, your awareness in this lower part of the body, in the solar plexus area, this third chakra. Take 1 or 2 deep breaths here and sigh them out. Use that ha breath to vibrate the vagus nerve that travels down and helps ground you. And then bringing your hands, if you like, but your awareness either way, to the lower part of the belly. And again, taking a nice deep ha breath. And then directing that energy, that awareness through the hips and the knees. And now send that ha breath all the way down to your feet and out the bottom of your feet into the support of our Mother, the Earth. You are safe. You are loved. You are worthy. As you're ready, very gently, you can wiggle your fingers, maybe move your ankles or your feet around, move your body a little bit gently. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey this evening. I hope that you feel calmer and more grounded. And I hope that you continue to participate in this process of opening the lower centers, of allowing yourself the safety, the feeling of safety that is your divine birthright as someone who is so loved. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you next week as we step into grace on Wind Down Wednesday.